Hello, this is Beyond the Green Room, your weekly chat show on Facebook about all things theater. I'm David Edwards, your host, and that terrific recording of that classic show tune is by one of my guests today, one of four versatile, talented, and warm people that I'm so thrilled to have on the show. I would like to bring them on right now, but first I want to invite you all to get your favorite brunch time beverage and relax and be prepared to be full of laughter and dish and maybe a little debate and discussion as well. So this format is a little bit different this week because we usually have four panels. But because I have two power couples involved, and they are sharing screens, so you'll only see three screens. So I'd like to bring the first power couple on. One is the lady you just heard singing. She was nominated for a Tony for that performance in Most Happy Fella. She's been on Broadway in Hairspray and Damn Yankees and Starmites, Fiddler on the Roof, and most recently in Beautiful. She's also been seen many, many times on every Law and Order franchise you can imagine, as co-starring in Madoff on television. And her partner in crime is another Broadway luminary who's been on Broadway in Three Musketeers, Romance, City of Angels, Falsettos, and most notably off-Broadway in the recent revival of Closer Than Ever. He's a wonderful concert artist and has done a fair amount of film and TV too. Please welcome Liz Larsen and Sal Viviano.
Hello.
Hi, hello. Oh, don't you guys look gorgeous?
Well, my bass on.
Oh, perfect. See, let's bring on the other two because they're dying to talk to you. My other power couple, the first gentleman is somebody that you will have seen recently if you, in any part of the country, co-starring in the revival of Hello, Dolly as Horace Vandergelder. And he was recently on Broadway in Anastasia. He's been there in Dames at Sea, Curtains, Spamalot, Contact, Titanic, and in one of my favorite performances he ever has given in A Christmas Story. And you've seen him on television in Gossip Girl and Elementary, and I remember recently also Boardwalk Empire. We're old friends, and I'm dying to get to talk to him. And his partner in crime today is a gentleman who was seen on Broadway and on tour in Anything Goes and Shrek and Curtains and Christmas Story, so many others, and has also had an illustrious career as a choreographer, and most recently has branched out into being an artist's representative, as we say. So we want to hear all about that too. They are quarantining together at their beautiful country home. Please welcome John Bolton and Sean McKnight.
Hello.
Hello. I love the fact that you have such beautiful backgrounds. We had a guest a few weeks ago that had a beautiful white background because it was something she was using to record TV auditions, which we all need in our homes. But it's nice to see into your environment as well. So I'm gonna start and embarrass everybody. This game that we played every episode. This is episode 5 of Beyond the Green Room. We play a little game called 6 Degrees of David Edwards. So I'm going to ask each one of you how we met. And the answer is probably not going to be the same for all of us, but our collective memory might bring up some fun things to talk about. So I'm gonna ask John first because I think that's the easiest one.
Okay. My first equity contract was to be at a company called Heritage Artists in scenic Cohoes, New York, at a theater that's still there, this gorgeous jewel box theater that is up there, and this beautiful diamond in the rough up there. But I had to be non-equity for one show first before I was bestowed with my equity card with the second show I did. And the first show I did was Man of La Mancha. And we had the man to play the titular character, and that was Mr. David Edwards himself. And I was so starstruck. This amazing actor who's just so fun to work with. And I was literally cleaning the bathrooms of this theater that was not a new attractive place to be. And David was very, very welcoming, and of course led the company beautifully, and just the greatest leading man we could ask for. And I was so starstruck. And then of course the following show was Theda Bara and the Frontier Rabbi, which starred the divine Liz Larsen, and I loved every second of that one as well.
Well, the Schmaltz police are going to come in and blow a whistle very soon on us here, but yes, I mean, we're jumping around a little bit here because of course we're bringing Liz in right away, but yeah, I mean, you say Man of La Mancha. I was the boy from La Mancha at that point. I had no business playing this. I wasn't even 30, and I do remember that it was the blondest, palest group of most wholesome looking group of muleteers that you have ever seen. But you never know where things lead. And of course, that being my first, I've played it, I think 12 times since then. And it's nice, but now that I'm old enough and wise enough to be able to play it, I don't get hired for it anymore. So, all right, Lizzie, you were there as it happened.
So I get hired to do this new show in co-host, and it was, remember how cold it was?
Oh.
And all the ice, and we would have to walk down the street holding on to each other. It was so cold, but the theater was beautiful. It was like an old music hall, an old vaudeville house or something. Anyway, so I was hired to do the next show after yours, and I remember going to see you in it. And I was like, what is this place? This is such a weird little place. And then I was like, so much talent. Oh, thank God. So you were wonderful.
Well, and you were terrific. I should have dug out. I have a picture of the three of us and at least 2 or 3 other cast members. We're all pointing at you, with some terrible accusatory glance. And I don't know what you were doing. I don't know, but it was. I have it somewhere. And John was actually shirtless in this, this picture. So I'll have to find that one day.
And looking beautiful. No, that was now I'm remembering because John and I texted like 2 weeks ago, and he remembers all the songs from the show, which I do not.
I don't either. But I think what happens is we tend to remember something that is in a time in our career that was so seminal. And I can remember the people who were in the ensemble of shows when I was a child actor easier than I can remember the people I played opposite 2 months ago. But then, that could be old age too. But
yeah, well, maybe I was just too world-worn by that time anyway. I can't remember anything. But you were the director, right? Didn't you play?
I was. Yeah. Whose name was Gordon Edwards,
right?
And he was a descendant of Blake Edwards. I found out later on, who does a little bit of trivia. But so I think Jeff Hockhauser, who wrote that show, is on Facebook. I've been trying to get in touch with him, and I thought maybe he might join us for this one. But I think we've got enough to talk about with the 4 of you. Sal, you were at co-host too after that, weren't you?
Yeah, we used to refer to it as co-host because we were always sick while we were there. Yes, we went up there to do so David Armstrong. Holgravy was Holgravy. David Armstrong, our dear friend for all of us. Mm-hmm. Love you, David. Hope he's watching. Asked Liz and I, so we didn't really know each other yet. We had met auditioning each other.
Are you going to tell the story?
No, I'm not going to tell the long story.
You can.
It's a good story. But we met briefly auditioning with each other for Starmites, which she of course did on Broadway, and stupidly, I turned it down. And
Starmite.
yeah, and Brian Lane Green got a Tony nomination for it, and I turned it down.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, stupid. But had I taken it, we probably wouldn't have ended up together because we weren't old enough. Anyway, so David, whom I had worked with by that point, and Liz had obviously too, asked us, independent of one another, to do Romance together to open their following season at Cohoes, because they were taking over the theater. So
No, I think I did Theater Bear first.
you did.
Okay,
Yeah, you
okay.
had.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think the year before, wasn't it?
Might have been.
Might have been just the
Year
year,
before.
the season before, I think. Right, David?
I think so. It was 1 or 2 seasons. It couldn't have been much more. They didn't last that long in that management.
Did not last that long. As adorable. It was the promise of the elevator, remember?
The promise.
To get to the 3rd floor of the bank. Anyway, I had done Romance from the inception of the show. Backers auditions. Maureen Brennan and I raised all the money with Barry Harmon and Keith Herman for all the backers auditions with that show. And then, of course, we did it off-Broadway, and I alternated performances with Dennis Parlato at that point. And then Dennis left to do chess when we moved to Broadway, and Scott Bakula came in. And so then I was offered to stand by for Scott and Bob Hoschauer, amazing Bob Hoschauer, and the amazing Scott too. So I did. I was doing a movie, came back and did that. And so I'd done the whole show. I knew it from the get-go. So when David first asked, I said, gee, the show had closed.
You're telling the long version of the
I'm telling
story.
the long version.
That's all right. We got 90 minutes.
We got a while.
Oh my God.
I'm getting to the point. Anyway, he said, I said, well, who would be the girl? I said, I really, I've done it enough now. And, but who would be the girl? He said, Liz Larsen. I said, oh, well, she'd be amazing. She'd be amazing. Let me think about it. So I was in a show
But
off
she's
Broadway.
going to fall in love with me,
No,
and
no.
I'm never going to be able to get away from her.
Well,
That's what he thought.
I was going to get
I'm going to tell you a story about the two of you, too. But
Well,
go ahead, Sal. Finish
I went
it.
home for Christmas for the first time in years because the show I was doing off Broadway closed. And I told my mom I have this offer to start in mid-January to do Romance again. She said, oh, well, that's great. And she had seen me do it on Broadway. She said, would the girl be any good? And I said, well, yeah, that's the most, yeah, it's this wonderful girl, Liz Larsen. She's so talented. I barely know her, but unfortunately, I'm attracted to her. And I think it'd probably we'd get into each other and I wouldn't be able to get away.
That's not how he usually tells it.
That is,
He usually tells it that she'd get her claws in me and I'd never get away. Not I'm attracted to her.
well, who was right? Who was right, gentlemen? Who was right?
Well, I have to tell you, I remember Lee Strasberg saying something about saying, if you have that kind of chemistry on stage, don't ever screw it up by sleeping together.
Right.
So you are the exception to the rule. And and how many years have you been together now? 2 beautiful kids.
Yeah, we're married 26 years and together 29, I think.
Amazing.
That's 70 years gay time.
Well, before I get to Sean, I just want to tell you that the three of us, because I never asked Sal, we never got to Sal as to how you and I know each other first. But I'll spill the beans right now. I think it was at the O'Neill when the three of us were doing 3 musicals in 2 weeks with book in hand, and just a ridiculous undertaking. But Liz had the room next to me.
Oh, God.
And I know, I said, I think those two have something going on. That's all. I said, this is, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, you were right.
Actually, we had broken up.
We had broken up.
And then we went to the O'Neill broken up. And I was, devastated, crying every night. Like, I want him back. And of course, I got him back at the O'Neill.
But
and here we are.
It's thanks to John's friend and our dear friend Mary Beth Peel, she was the linchpin.
Yeah,
she was there with us, right, David? And we all adore Mary Beth Peel, unbelievable.
Yes.
But she really said to Liz at some point, she noticed what was going on, that there was some sort of tension between us. She said, okay, is there a history there? And she said,
you two are in love. Just do
it. The word I used when I suspected it at breakfast one morning was rekindled. And Alex Corey said, "You're kidding." So I said, "Yes, I'm sure, because I have the room next door."
Yeah. Yeah, we were staying at an insane asylum,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
It was an insane asylum off the beach. No, not kidding, John. I see you.
It was an insane
shock in your
accident.
face.
And we used to hear screaming
All night at the beach. You hear,
night.
it was crazy. We were on one floor, and then the residents were a floor or two above us. Who knows? But it was.
Or the ghost of the resident.
It seemed like ghosts because you'd hear all night screaming. And
Yeah,
right.
and the doors to our rooms would blow shut if you opened the window. I mean the door, and you couldn't get back in because you didn't have your key or whatever.
That's
so
right.
we were always climbing through the bushes into the window and getting mosquito bitten.
That's right.
But I do remember that one night while the rest of you were all playing volleyball and doing something wholesome, Alex, Corey, and I went to the mall and bought little rubber door stoppers to keep the doors from, and it was the best opening night gift.
Right, you handed this out to everybody. Yeah, I remember.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't Alex buy sheets? And she put sheets on the floor of her room.
Yeah, she decked it all out.
Because she didn't want to touch the floor.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that had a private bathroom. The rest of us all had to go down the hall to the bath. And I'll tell you one more terrible story is that we all had a cafeteria. We got 3 meals a day. Everything was brown.
Right.
And if you didn't eat it for dinner, you got it for lunch the next day.
And it was gray by that day.
It was gray, yes.
Yeah.
And I think one of those gray meals gave me food poisoning one week. And I didn't go to rehearsal because I was so sick. I was wrapped in a sheet and nothing else at the insane asylum. And the door to my room opened up with a tour group going through because they were trying to sell the place. And here was this naked man wrapped in a sheet. It was one of the more embarrassing moments that ever happened. And before I go any further with that, I want to ask Sean how to change the subject, how you and I met.
Well, like the exact opposite of that.
Good.
It was, I guess, a totally different phase of your life because it was 2004, June, and I was joining the national tour of the producers, and you were actually exiting. We barely dovetailed. Like we overlapped by like 2 weeks. But what I loved is I remember one night I was still learning the show, and so rehearsing during the day in the Music Circus's rehearsal facilities, but they weren't air conditioned. So I was learning the show without air conditioning, and then seeing the show at night. And we all know this, it's an exciting time, but you're exhausted. But I was also really hungry all the time. And one night, David was like, I'm hungry too. And no one else would go out, but the two of us went to Denny's. And so like,
that's lovely because I feel like before that period of you joining the show, I was so, pent up all the time because I was covering 2 huge roles, and I for a variety of reasons, I was really ready to go and move on to something else. And it's nice to know that we were able to share that, and also that a few years later, when I revisited the show, 3 productions in a year, you were able to come on board and be not only the, as I remember, the cover for Leo, but the dance captain and one of our ensemble members, and were a huge help in getting that show up because we had to do it in 8 days. It was that dinner theater out in Westchester where there's no week where the seats are cold. The 52 weeks a year. I've done 13 shows out there. I know the drill, but it was pretty frightening. And I had directed another production, and then right after I was going to do Roger Debris at Gateway, I think. So there were 3 altogether, and I couldn't remember where I was, who I was working with. But you and the rest of the cast at Westchester held the whole thing together, and I was very, very grateful for that. Did you ever do Leo at that?
No, because Joel was able to get every show in, which was...
Well, he's a trooper, and so, in fact, you know what? I actually, before we go any further, I actually have a little clip of a rehearsal at Westchester, and maybe you can find yourself in this clip. you were probably a little old lady. It sounds vocally a little thin because I think it was a dress rehearsal and we were marking. And I remember we had staged the whole thing the way Stroh had done on Broadway and then realized it wasn't going to work for the thrust stage. And I said, just everybody stand still and go on the turntable. So this is the moment. If you can find yourself in this, if Tony can find that clip, maybe we can show that now.
I'll be downstage right.
Yeah, all right.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
There you were.
Yeah. Right. That is thin vocal. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I think we were not fully mic'd and whatever.
The marking.
What was that, Sal?
You were marking.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. There's no way that we had to be marking because I'll tell you what, that was a talented cast. A lot of people in that Westchester production were just getting started. But if we went through and named each one, huge Broadway careers out of most of those people. And a lot of them, like Jesse Wildman, I think even Karen Hyland got her equity card on that show. But they've just gone on to work and work and work and work. And that cast, like our cast of the national tour, like that cast has stayed in contact. Amy Griffin who was our Hold Me, Touch Me, is actually now one of my clients. It's a really, that was my only time doing dinner theater, and it was great to revisit. It was also the only time I've ever revisited a show that I've done on a production contract and then gone to a dinner theater, which is that's a hard emotion to go through. Yeah. And Curtains had closed the week before, so I went from Curtains on Broadway to Westchester Broadway within a week. So that was there's a lot of different things, but that cast was awesome. And everyone is still great friends.
I remember I felt like I exorcised a lot of demons that I felt for 14 months with the tour, being able to do it at a dinner theater and in summer stock and play it again. You grow, you mature, a lot of stuff sinks in, and then you say, now I can make it my own, because it was a challenging thing to work with that team,
right? Not to speak for him, but it was fun to watch him because he was so good as Leo on the road when he jumped in. But then to see him do Leo the whole time at Westchester, there was a huge, an even bigger growth.
Yeah. I was so pleased to have him in the show and so grateful for all of you. And John, you were talking about that before, where you got your equity card, but I think all of us that worked with you then knew that you were going to have a great career in the theater. Even when we sat in that cold apartment with the stove on.
Oh yeah,
stove on.
To stay warm. That was crazy. But what a great group of people that was. I had a degree in journalism, but I just had this opportunity, thanks to David Holdgravy, David Armstrong, to dabble professionally and to get to work with you guys. It was like, wow, I think I really want to do this. So that was actually a pretty big job for me to get to be around you guys.
Well, there was no doubt in my mind. I remember shortly after that, you were already busy. I think you were about to do the tour of Annie or whatever. But I came to visit you, and you were in an apartment that was about the size of a broom closet. But you were on your way. And then I remember also seeing you take over the lead in How to Succeed, and you gave an amazing star performance, truly in the tradition of musical theater. It was obvious that you had the chops in every way, and I was thrilled to see it and thrilled to see you.
Thank you. I was absolutely petrified to do that, but I got through it, and I sort of surprised myself for that one.
You more than got through it. And
I have a John Bolton.
yes, please.
I love you, Liz.
I'm going to tell.
I do, and I can't wait.
Okay. I think we've done 4 shows together, right?
We've done a bunch, plus concerts and.
Yeah. And when your mic went out.
Yes, in front of like the most star-studded.
Oh my God! It was Frank Lester's 100th birthday.
Yeah.
And he was singing Big D with me, and we had these body mics on, and we had to enter through the audience and the jokes as we were coming in, and then we were like full on dancing.
Full on.
You know,
Chorus and everything, doing
chorus behind us, and his mic goes out, and so doesn't miss a beat. Some guy hands him a mic, and he does the whole thing with like a. It was great. It was so funny. Anyway, so when I was doing Damn Yankees, I was watching the show. I had a week to watch the show, and then I was on, and so I went backstage, and I was watching it from so far away. In the back of the theater, and I didn't really look at the cast. I was like, where am I? And so I went backstage to trail Vicki Lewis. I think I was on like the next day or 2 days later. And I see John Bolton there in such a beautiful suit. And he looks so dressed up and handsome. And I was like, John Bolton, what are you doing here? Are you ushering? Like I really... Because I really saw him as a little kid still. Ushering. Oh.
And I've been in the show for 6 months.
And he goes,
a joke. But also, Liz, when you did Starmites, it was at the Criterion Theater, and you could see the show for free if you ushered there. Like it wasn't a union house.
Right.
And of course, I wanted to see my friend Liz carry this show full of other attractive young people that I singing pop music, and I ushered like 10 times.
Right.
There was ushering there. So.
Well, Gabe Barry was on our first show a few weeks back, and we talked about Starmites. It made me think, Sal, when you were talking about the roles that you worked on, and then someone else took over when it went to Broadway. I think we all have stories like that. I twice in a year, I did 2 different versions of Prince and the Pauper. And when I was called in by the creators, they said, no one else but you can do this role. I thought of you immediately. And in both, one went off Broadway and one went on a national tour that was supposed to come to Broadway and it didn't. Thank you. I was replaced by someone else. And it's heartbreaking. Have you had... the 3 of you, you must have had experiences like that you want to.
It happened to me with Romance.
Yeah.
Because initially, so the idea when we moved the show from off-Broadway to Broadway, when it was capitalized for that, and the money had been raised, and Scott Bakula had never been mentioned or anything. It was going to be, Dennis Parlato was going to continue. We were going to alternate performances as we had off-Broadway. We were very different. Dennis is so amazing and gifted, but we're 13 years different in age. So it was a very different approach to the roles. And then while I was out of town doing a movie in Canada, Dennis took what seemed to be what was going to be the hit show of the season, Chess. He accepted a role in Chess, which seemed like the right thing for him. And it was. And then, the producers and creators of Romance rethought it all and thought, well, let's get a star. And Scott Bakula had 2 series by that point. He was a perfect choice. So yeah, it was disappointing, but at the same time, I thought, okay, I'll go back with a job, and I was very happy in that job actually, and I did get to succeed him, and then anyway, but so yeah, and it's happened so many times. We've all done, backers auditions and created roles in shows that you work along, and some of our best friends end up replacing us in those roles, and that's, it's so unique to our business, I think.
And then they get Tony Awards.
And they get Tony Awards. Nominations and Tony Awards.
Well, that's what I said to Gabe. I said there was a season when Starmites was still in its formative stage, we both auditioned for that, and within a week we also auditioned for a show that was being done up in the Thousand Islands about an oil slick, and I got that one, and he got the one that moved to Broadway, and he got a Tony nomination. And at the time I thought, oh, I got the prize, because I didn't really think there was any future in playing a lizard on Broadway, but it was a great boost. And he was brilliant in it too. He really was. Yeah.
We were a laughing stock. I mean, it was just. I mean, it's so sweet that people love the show now, but at the time, it was like Starlight. It was. But now people love it. But
well, yeah. At the time, I remember reading it and thinking, I just didn't get it. It didn't. After being offered the job, and I thought, I didn't get it. I just didn't understand it. It didn't appeal to me. And then I remember being in my hotel room. When the Tonys were on, and there's Liz and Sharon McKnight and Gabe and everyone else, the whole company, Brian Lane Green, doing their numbers, adorable. Liz, most adorable. And I'm sitting alone in my hotel room. I'd gone back out on the Pirates of Penzance tour as Frederick, making great money, but sitting alone in my hotel room watching the Tonys, thinking, oh, maybe I didn't make the right decision,
Well, you never know. I mean, I think there are no wrong decisions, because things lead to other things. And I almost turned down a Broadway show because it was right after 9/11, and I didn't think it was going to run. Yeah. And I had 4 jobs in regional theater lined up, and I said, I got to pay the mortgage. I gotta survive. Yeah. And a good friend of mine sat me down and said, well, what would you do if this were not the thing that is going on in the world now that is affecting everybody? I said, well, of course I would take the Broadway show. And I did. And there was every good reason to do it. And it led to other things. And there were things that I wouldn't have done had I not made that decision. So, and I'm sure there are a lot of things that happen to you guys along those lines.
The people you meet, the people the people you end up connecting with and then work with again, and then see each other on beautiful broadcasts like this.
And it's heartbreaking when you get 3 offers at once, and then you go for months with nothing, and you wonder.
But that's the rule of theater. Like, it's like when you get 1, you get 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Then the rest, you could have a drought, but you just always know it's not going to be so easy. You're going to have to choose.
And you wish you had a crystal ball. Which one's going to be the one?
Yeah, which one's going to be the one?
Yeah.
And do you find too, it seems oftentimes, and not as much recently, but in the early days, the jobs that you worked hardest for, the jobs that you really focused on, prepared so much material for, went and auditioned for time and time again, weren't necessarily the ones you got. It was the ones you walked in and they had made a decision because you are what they wanted. And you have the 5-minute audition, you go home and you get an offer and you think,
what?
Huh?
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, I feel like, you could have 12 callbacks for Bells Are Ringing in Podunk, and then you get a Broadway show with no callback, Yeah.
Right.
Remember that, John, we did this thing called Radio Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Goodspeed, yeah.
And it was written by Henry Krieger, who wrote Good Girls, and Susan Birkenhead, who, she's written a lot of.
Bunch of shows, yeah.
And it had a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
That producer. And so everything about this made sense that it was going to be this big hit.
Great cast.
And Chris Pattelli was directing it, and he was wonderful, and the cast was incredible. You never know.
You never know. It seemed to me years later, I think it's safe to say, it seemed like the creatives just weren't on the same page of what they each wanted. Even though I deeply respect every single one of them, it just seemed they needed a mediator in there to say, what needs to
But I mean, that's the kind of thing that goes wrong. It's like you have all these people that want their voice heard, the choreographer, the director, the writers, the actors, and if magic isn't made between these relationships, the most beautiful musicals can just die. It's so sad because there's so much potential out there that didn't.
So true.
Like Beautiful. When we started Beautiful, it was it was like, it was kind of a Carole King concert. In fact, the last 40 minutes of it were just her basically playing the entirety of Tapestry. And I remember saying, okay, yikes, I'll get like 12 weeks of work out of this, because we have rehearsals and then we have previews in San Francisco. And at least it's paychecks and insurance weeks. And what happened in Beautiful was, for some reason, everybody there let go of what they needed to let go and added what they needed to add, and it worked out. Instead of getting worse, it got better, which is really rare.
It's rare.
Yes.
Well, it's such a collaborative thing to do a musical, because it's not one playwright and one director. It's so many things that can go wrong. Paper Moon is a project that you did, John, that I thought was going to be a big launch pad for you. What a wonderful role. And
we all thought the show was beautiful. It was just a show that, based on obviously the famous film, Ryan O'Neal, Tatum O'Neal, and we had a great cast: Gregory Harrison, Christine Ebersole, Chandra Wilson, Renee Elise Goldsberry. In the ensemble was me, Chris Sieber, Brooke Seshmanskis, Ruthie Gottschall, Roxy Lucas. We just had it just felt like, how can it not?
How can it not go? Yeah.
And 2 days before we were to start, we did it at Paper Mill. Mixed reviews, but a lot of good there. A great score by Larry Fitzhugh and Carol Hall, or Larry Grossman, excuse me, Carol Hall. And then 2 days before we were to start rehearsals for New York, we got a phone call. Sorry, guys, it's not happening.
And your marquee was already up on the theater.
Yeah.
I remember, right? The marquee was already up on the theater.
At the Marquee Theater.
I remember.
We were so pissed because Damn Yankees had been a success at the Old Globe.
And you're like,
They were able to take our theater. And I was like, fuck you, Damn Yankees.
Yeah,
Take our theater. Cut to 6 months later.
You're in John Damn Yankees. Yeah. Wow.
well, we all go where the work is because we have to, and sometimes you get wonderful Easter eggs within a part. I was looking at some of your credits the other day, and I thought of an old hoary joke about. I have a friend who used to tell Ann Miller jokes all the time, and Ann Miller was supposedly asked once, do you do a show on Passover? And she said, no, I don't do game shows. So this was going through my head when I happened to remember that Sal and Liz both did shows named after games, though. One was bingo and the other one was golf.
wow,
Yeah, good.
nice one.
Good segment.
I have to do my research,
I love it.
and then I have to amuse myself. Yeah, so that gave me a giggle.
Bingo was such an adorable show. I don't know if any of you saw it.
It's another one. It
Should have been such a big hit. First of all, it was Liz and Liz McCartney and Janet Metz and
Leah
Blackhurst, yeah.
Blackhurst,
Clea Backhurst
Beth Malone.
and Beth Malone.
Yeah.
It was so adorable. These women together were not only powerful, but they were, first of all, they were each of them hysterically funny in their own. But the material was so, it was
really
like
good.
bubblegum. It was adorable and so much fun. And it was in that theater under the church with the low ceiling. What's the name of the theater?
Clemens, St. Clemens? No, St.
No.
Luke.
On
St.
46th
Luke's.
Street,
St.
46th, on Restaurant Row there.
St. Luke's, I think.
Yeah.
It's where the one was with Late Night Catechism was there for a long time.
Yeah.
St. Luke's.
St.
And
Louis.
you could play bingo. We had 3 live games of bingo during
During
the
the show, the audience actually played bingo.
And we gave out free cake
But
at the end.
The songs, our kids
Yeah.
loved it. Our boys went a lot because they get the free cake every day. But the bingo and the songs it was just adorable. I couldn't believe that show, who directed it? He was so smart. He was a really terrific director. You'll think of it.
I love him too.
He was so clever. We'll think of his name.
John.
Golf, the same way. Golf was a great idea. Eric Krebs' idea to put a musical together, and he got Michael Roberts to write 18 songs, like 18 holes. And Joel Blum and I probably laughed more during that show, shamelessly, Only Joel Blum. You got to laugh at Joel Blum. But I loved every day of that because it was so much fun. And Trisha Rappier and Christopher Sutton. And we had such a ball on that show. And the lion's share of the second act was a Bing and Bob routine, which Joel and I basically wrote, as he as Bob Hope and me as Bing Crosby. And that started out as like a 2-minute skit and then became a 15-minute skit. And then it was like 20 minutes of the second act. And it was really enjoyable. We made, a nickel and, 7 cents a week on it. But I think they do it around the world somewhere.
Do you know what?
And we got to play a lot of good courses.
Do you know what convinced me that our son was talented and would be a talented director? Because when we were doing bingo, I played this part where I had a huge beehive and I was always spraying my hair, right? And there was one thing where I ran on stage and was spraying my hair. And as I was coming on stage, and Andy, who was like 8 at the time, he said, "Mom, it's funnier if you spray first and then walk through the spray."
He's
and
right.
I was like, "You are right, my friend."
Well, I remember Tony and I saw you, the two of you, doing Sunday in the Park with George in DC together, and you were magnificent.
Oh.
And Liz, you were, I think you were nursing at the time. I don't know how you did 8 shows a week in those costumes.
And they were the original. We had Pat Ziprod did our costumes, so she had done the original costumes. So we had the original mechanical dress, Bernadette's dress, which Liz fit into perfectly, save for if she hadn't breastfed before the show. It was so hard to close that mechanical dress because I don't know if you know, it's attached to the floor is basically what happens. And it opens up and she does the fantasy number, the Follies, if I was in the Follies, and she gets back in the dress and has to close. Well, if she hadn't breastfed before showtime, it was tight.
It was a tough closure. But I had a lot of quick changes and a lot of, what do they call it?
Corsets.
Thank you. Corsets. And it was terrible because I'd have to change my corset and my milk. My dressers were like, "Oh God!"
Yeah. A lot of wetness on that stage. Not all for the reason that we would want to think. Yeah.
Gee, guys, none of us can compare with that story.
The thing, listen, it was a great gift to get to do that show and we had just had our first son. He was 4 months old when we went down there, so she was breastfeeding through the whole run and rehearsal. We took a nanny with us that moved with us there.
Careful.
Yeah, I won't tell the stories about the nanny.
Oh,
She was lovely.
She was lovely. We replaced her with a new nanny fairly shortly.
Well, she left during tech.
Yeah,
Let's
she
just put it
left
that way.
during tech.
She left.
As so many do during tech.
They're like, "Tech, I'm out." And I had to do a lot of the rehearsals with him in front of me.
Yeah. And we weren't asleep. Those roles are, really, you pray for roles like that. So, but it was a wonderful gift getting to do that show together. And Liz won the Helen Hayes Award for that. I was nominated.
We've gotten to work together many times, which is a gift. And so have you, John and Sean, have you not?
Twice. We had curtains on Broadway, and then we did
the tour, the pre-Broadway tour of A Christmas Story together. So we did those, which it was fun because how many years apart was that?
4, 3 or 4.
Yeah. More.
More?
No, I guess only 4. It feels longer. Again, gay time. It's twice as long.
Always.
But very different position. It's the first time I came into curtains. I was the first replacement in curtains, and that was from the out of town to the Broadway opening. So they had all been working together for a long time because the show had transferred relatively quickly. And so I was the new blood, and
I was like, "Who dat?"
We
didn't actually.
Neely Bassman is the one who really kind of, except for Megan Sikora, who was like an instigator in like the whole thing happening. We kept it secret because we were like, we're just not going to, let's just see where it goes. Let's not like bring the cast into this. But then Neely Bassman saw on I had written John a note on a Starbucks cup, And she was like, ooh. So that kind of let the cat out of the bag.
It was a sweet note, not a profane.
Oh yeah, it wasn't profane.
Yes.
For most people that know me,
Yeah.
then they'll be like, oh, he wrote something sweet, not profane.
Well, it's great that we have two wonderfully happy power couples, as I call them, in the theater on this. All right. Listen, mine is in the other room now, and he could pull out on our mics at any second and wreak havoc on this whole broadcast. So
Gasteyer says couples together during the COVID situation is her way of describing it for she and her husband, and I think for any couple, is simmering marital tension.
Well, it's true, but you find out about each other and about yourselves things that you never imagined, and of course, I think you find a way forward to just doing this. Tony really kicked my butt to do this show, and I thought, oh well, it might be fun, but it's amazing how many folks in our business have appreciated this way of us all getting together, and just staying in contact and keeping the ghost light on, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And because we are, I'm using all of my cliches today, but we're all in the green room waiting to go back on stage. And the gift of it is I realized I would never have gotten this many busy, talented, in-demand people to do this show if we weren't in this situation right now. Right. And I wouldn't have been able to see so many of my old friends who I never get in contact with without it. And so we have to look at the glass half full. And
well, thank you for doing it, and thank Tony for pushing you, because
you know what? After we do this every Sunday, my spirits are lifted. So that's. I hope you guys will feel the same way. And it's also that we have to look for other ways other than live theater to be working right now. And I know the film industry is mostly shut down, but I think that we're going to come back fairly soon in some limited way. And you've all done stuff on film and TV, and that's a gift because we live for those residual checks when we're not working in the theater. Lizzie, you've done so many high profile things. We've been binging on shows that we never saw. And every sixth episode, there you are in something like The Sopranos, or you've done every incarnation of Law and Order. And Madoff was a wonderful portrayal. And
was that a gift?
Yeah.
I had to do all these love scenes. I had to sign a nudity clause because I had to. And let me tell you something. I signed it because I'm like, hey, 55, baby. You want to see it? Here it is. You can see this. And so
she did go for 3 spray tans.
I did. 3 full on. But what was great about it was that he was just incredible. Richard Dreyfuss. He was so helpful to me. I mean, first of all, I got it having a love scene with a casting director. That's the other thing. You go in 6 or 7 times and you don't get something. You do one scene, love scene with a casting director, and all of a sudden you're playing opposite Richard Dreyfuss. It's bizarre. Like, I was shocked that I got it. So anyway, when I got there, I was very nervous, and we had all these scenes together, and he would give me little tricks that I just couldn't concentrate on because I was so nervous, and it was such a big part. So I remember once he told me, always look at the downstage eye, because if you look at the upstage eye, you look cross-eyed.
On camera.
Yeah, on camera. And these are tricks that really helped me. And also there was this one scene where I was supposed to be really nervous with him. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was going, and it was a character thing that I chose to do, but I didn't stop. I did it through the whole scene. And he said, listen, you've got to choose when to do it, and you have to stop doing it before the end of the scene to show that you've come from one place to the end. So in other words, you started really nervous and then you found a way to sit on your hands or change and be a different kind of nervous, So he was great. He was so great.
So he had, first of all, I have to, the addendum to that is that he adored her, and we went out with Richard and his wife several times afterwards. He just adored Liz. And partly not only because she's a fine actor on her own, but also she is a very generous actor in, he's a guy with a career of film acting, of 40 years of film acting. So the fact that he would share those things, some people, and I would probably put myself in the same thing. I may not have be able to take it in the way that she was able to not only hear it, but apply it. We get protective of what we do in a weird way, and even more so when we don't feel like we're in our element. So to your credit, you were open to it and were able to apply it in a successful way.
God.
Right. But not everybody would be that, right? I mean, it's where you are at the moment and how it's delivered. And so clearly he had great respect for her. He'd also gone and seen you in a show before. He went to see you in something, right?
No, he came later.
After.
Like 6 times to see Beautiful.
Yeah, he was obsessed.
With his wife. But there was this one scene that was it was the nude scene where I'm actually sitting on him and the camera comes in through the front door of this kind of hotel suite, and it's just shows my back, my naked back,
and the spray tan looked great,
and my butt, which kind of was a little covered with sheets and stuff. But I'm naked and I have nothing, and he's supposed to have his hands up on my breasts, and we're having sex. So
happy Sunday.
It was so anyway. But what was great about it was he closed his eyes the whole time to give me privacy, like to not be staring up, he put his hands on my breast, which he had to do, but he closed his eyes so that I wouldn't be embarrassed, It was,
well, when they stop asking you to do a nude scene is when you have to say,
oh, they stopped.
Don't worry, but
that shit's done.
It's good that he closed his eyes to give you privacy rather than saying, "Oh no, I can't deal with this."
Yeah,
I'm still asking her for nude scenes daily.
Yeah, I like my privacy.
That's the thing. I was sure of that when I was in that room next door at the O'Neill. I was sure that you would still be asking for nude scenes a quarter of a century later. And John, you've done a lot of film and TV too.
I play everybody's lawyer and accountant.
Well,
and although now with my long COVID hair, which is convenently in a ponytail, so
I was wondering about that. You're all slicked back.
Oh, nice.
I'm man bun. I'm man bun guy now.
Nice.
Well, now, Sean, because you're in another aspect of the business now too, do you get your clients who do mostly theater saying, "Film and TV, get me seen for film and TV"?
Well, our agency is a little different in that all of our clients really do film and TV. We're as boutique as they get. I don't handle the film and TV. I've only done actually one. I handled the West Side Story film for our clients because it's so musical theater. But so because my background is in musical theater, the owner of our agency, that's what he hired me to do, so that he could concentrate more on the film and TV. But up until then, he was doing it all on himself, like by himself. He's just a genius. But our clients, they really do work on like all of film, TV, and stage. And right now, everybody is of course, like any breakdown that's coming out right now, everyone wants to be a part of. But what's also great is that, like during this time, classes for film and TV in particular are still going on and still very beneficial. And so a lot of our clients are making great strides in their acting classes. And so when we really do kick up again, they're going to be able to hit the ground, running.
That's a great thing to hear, a great positive thing, because we just hear nothing but bad news sometimes. And there are so many sprouts around. And I do think when we come back from this, we're going to come back having reinvented in another way and reminding people what live theater is as opposed to film and TV. And not to say anything wrong with those media, but it's to say, instead of competing with them, this is what you've missed. This is what only live theater can do.
Right.
And, that's kind of why we're here. And we're going to actually go to a little bit of an intermission coming up. And at this point in the broadcast, I will ask a quiz question from our audience, and anybody who can, see our they can answer the quiz question. What? Too much coffee. I have a lot of caffeine before I do this because it's Sunday morning, and I thought, starting around 12:30 with half hour was enough. But we start to get used to sleeping 8 hours, 10 hours during this time period.
Taking a nap.
I haven't set an alarm in months, but Sunday mornings I set an alarm to be ready for this. Anyway, I digress. So we're going to ask this quiz question, and then we're going to take a little intermission, during which we're going to play another clip from another one of our guests, a performance that I think should have been nominated for a Tony Award, but John Bolton, you were indeed the genius on Cleveland Street in this show. And we're going to play that cut, which I think is hilarious, from the cast recording of A Christmas Story. But the quiz question is, and you all don't get to answer until nobody else answers, who played the role of Cleo that Liz played in the revival of The Most Happy Fella in the original Broadway production of The Most Happy Fella? And now we will listen to the genius on Cleveland Street as portrayed by Mr. John Bolton. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Refresh your drinks and go to the bathroom, and we'll see you soon. Pretty terrific.
Pretty
terrific.
So good. So good.
Well,
adorable.
It's a performance that has everything. And John, you have never pigeonholed yourself by doing one kind of part. And the same for you guys. I think we're all lucky in that we never worried about, oh, right, well, you're too old for that. I'm too young for that. We just keep moving on and reinventing. And that's the way you survive in this business. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, but that was a terrific performance, and we actually this has never happened before, but we got several people that actually got the quiz question right.
Yay!
And the first one who answered it was D.G. Brandamore, who answered Susan Johnson.
Right.
And I think mentioning a career like hers, that's somebody who went from one flop to another and is so respected in the business. Most Happy Fellow was probably the biggest success she ever had, but I do believe she's still working out in LA and doing.
She was in Sister Act.
She was in Sister.
Yeah.
She's deceased though. She has
Yeah,
passed.
Really? I thought she was still around.
No, she had a breathing issue. So when Liz did Happy Fellas, she got to see Liz do it in L.A.
My son giving me coffee.
Here's our older
Say
son.
hello. Show me COVID hair.
This is Alessandro.
Here's some COVID
Here's
hair.
some COVID hair. Come on.
We've all got it. Oh my gosh.
Serious flow. We call
grow my hair that long.
Serious flow. We used to, right? When Liz did Happy Fellow in LA, before they came to Broadway, Susan came to see the show, and there's a great picture of Susan Johnson and Liz Larsen backstage with Liz sobbing.
Well, I'll tell you why I was sobbing, because I was at Goodspeed doing something, and I can't remember what it was, and Martin Charnin was there, and we were talking because I had done Annie with him years and years prior, and we were talking, and he said, "Oh, Susan Johnson, yeah, she's a quadriplegic." And I said, "What?" And he said she had a motorcycle accident and she's a quadriplegic. Now this is like in the 90s, right? No, so
like
it was
89.
89. It was
88 or 89. Yeah.
No, I know. I was at Goodspeed doing Most Happy Fella.
okay.
That's what it was. Okay. So, we were talking about that. Okay. So I'm like, oh my
So,
God,
like 91.
she's a quadriplegic. So then we go to LA and do it at.
Dorothy Chandler?
No.
No.
I don't remember.
With the big one.
Doolittle.
The Doolittle.
The Doolittle. Anyway, and there I walked down the steps and there she is going, I'm Susan Johnson. And I thought you were quadriplegic. I don't know why he thought she was, but I think she did have some kind of motorcycle accident. Anyway, that's why I was sobbing. I was like, oh my God.
But she was very much alive and very vital and still working.
She was just fine.
Yeah. Now then, about a year and a half later, I did the show out on the West Coast, and I played Joey, and Susan came to see that, and she was on oxygen. Her daughter brought her. She was already, her health had started to deteriorate, but I also have a photograph. So we had those photographs kind of together hanging in our, she was such an amazing lady. Like you said, David, we have such great fondness for her because that voice was like a pure trumpet. And yet.
Scott Morris said her voice was like a trombone.
Yeah, really.
Well, and she was in shows like Oh Captain and Whoop Up. I mean, an array of shows that only us musical theater mavens would have even heard of. And they're on my iPod, you know.
Yeah.
David, you introduced me to Whoop Up during. I promise you did. It had just come out like someone had unearthed the original cast album, and you had it and played it. And
it's ridiculous what I have, and now I play them once and I put them on the shelf. But the ones from a certain era I think I memorized them when I was a kid. So that was our education. I learned about certain words from reading the liner notes on a cast album, and I would look it up if I didn't know what it was. So that's our passion for the theater. And it's funny you mentioned that about Susan Johnson. I had a similar experience. I was doing a little production of Aurora the Grease Paint in New York, where I was playing the Anthony Newley role, and George S. Irving was playing Sir, the part that Cyril Richard played. And he had already done it, I think, out at Goodspeed and whatever. I was thrilled because when I was little, he and Maria lived in the same building as my grandparents, and I used to see them in the elevator. I was too terrified to say anything. And there I was at the first day of rehearsal, and I had been listening to his voice on cast recordings since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Right. And he turned to me, and we had a music rehearsal, and he said, "Look at that face, just look at it." And I started to cry. And he said, "What's the matter, David?" And I said, "It's just that I can't believe you are singing this song to me." And I bring it up because these people are legends to us, as you guys will be to the next generation, or you are now. And live theater, we just if you're not famous in the movies or have a TV series, we feel it all disappears into the ether. But there are people listening to us today who are treasuring the fact that you guys took the time to be with us. And I would love to know, I know this is a horrific question to ever ask an actor. I always quake in my boots if I don't have 6 answers to give. But what are you working on now, and what are you going to come out of this, hopefully, stronger for after this period? Sal, you look like you're poised to say something.
Well, I've been working on my golf game with my sons, definitely.
But you do recordings. You do so many. You have so many CDs.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I've done almost 80 of them, and then I'll get back to concerts at some point. That's been just like the theater. No one's going to gather in a concert hall, but that's been my bread and butter for the better part of the last 20 years, more than 20 years, really. So, I've got stuff planned that way. I am going to do, I haven't told this yet. I'm going to film a short film about the Pietà, actually. I just got the script last week. I haven't told you about this yet. So, anyway. We don't see each other. I'm going to do that. I think probably, I think that's going to shoot in October. But mostly I've been working on my golf game and trying to find what the gifts are in this time. It's so unusual for the whole world. We're in such an odd time here. So getting the time that we've had with our grown sons, one of whom will be a junior at Syracuse.
He's going back.
Yeah, we're going to take him up the end of this week, move him in with masks on, and hope for the best, and pray for his safety and his good judgment. And our other son, who's an actor and has been working pretty steadily since he got his union card, lives with us. But it's such a gift having them with us, and that wouldn't have been but for this situation, as horrific as it's been for so much of the
since
world.
when did you grown sons and you spend all this time together? It's really interesting to really get to know them as adults.
Yeah. So
And they're really nice guys.
yeah, they're good. They're good guys.
I didn't say that.
Hopefully, they're not listening too closely.
Well, we lose sight sometimes in our careers that we have to be whole people in order to be better actors too. Yeah. And I look at these faces and I see how many years have gone by, and I feel like we blinked and we're this age.
No.
But it's Jean Lehman was on the show last week, dear Jean Lehman, and she said to me yesterday on the phone that since we all visited, she's gone back and written stories of her career on the backs of photographs and realized what a wonderful career she has had and is having, and so it's time to take stock and you obviously, John and Sean are in this beautiful home there you have together, and you were able to do that because, I know you kind of ran out of the city, but.
Wait, is this a new house?
We've owned this house for 5 years. We have 8 acres of woods near the Catskills.
Wow.
And every week when we're working in the city, which we were both lucky and thrilled to get to do, we come up here Sunday after the show and leave Tuesday in time for half hour or so, or for Sean to be at the office on Tuesday. And we're just we always think when we leave, oh, if only we could just spend a little more time here. Yeah. Well, here we are. And we've been here since mid-March, every single night here, joyously. Obviously, there's constant concern for our business and friends, health, safety, careers, but just to enjoy nature and this beautiful home has been such a pleasure. We live on a dirt road. I'm in the woods every day with my saw, doing stuff.
Wow, what a man.
I love it.
Sean cooks home-cooked meals. I haven't had this many home-cooked meals since I was a child.
Oh,
that's wonderful.
That's great.
It's been a time, I think, I've said this to some of my clients too, where as actors, we're always, on stage, we live in the moment, but in life, we tend to either live in the past or live in the future because we're thinking about, the jobs of yesterday or what's next. But on stage, everyone's really great at being in the moment. But now we're having to learn how to do that in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I still have a job. I'm really lucky that I still have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my job. But this has also been a really great time for me to the world came to a stop, and we both I think he's handled it way better than I have.
Mm-hmm.
But the first 2 weeks I was really great, and then I was like tanked with my mood. But it's been a really great time for reflection and being like, okay, like you were saying about Jean last week and reflecting on your career. It's really nice to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I've accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
What do I really want to accomplish next? Because we're so good at riding the wave of this industry that we don't even think about I took this turn because it was just the natural way to go. It was the way we ride this. And this is the first time in my 20 years of living in New York where I've actually had to sit and stop and be like, do I like where I am? Yeah, I do. Okay, but where do I want to go next? And then figuring that out. So it's been really fun. And, especially so lucky to be together and not, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, I speak to so many people that live in one-room apartments and were even sick and had to go through things by themselves. And it's you do really appreciate having someone to look after you and look out for you. In fact, the lady that answered our quiz question said, "Why isn't Tony on the screen with the rest of you?" So, he said, well, he's in the other room and he's not going to have a lovely green background like the rest of us seem to. John, you chose a shirt that was so appropriate for Beyond the Green Room. And but I'd love to pop Tony in for a minute and just say, we have.
To show off my COVID hair. Hey everybody! It's been delightful so far, and I don't want to, it's just to show off the COVID hair and to make DG Brandon more happy.
Well, and
yeah, where's your place?
Oh, we're on 116th and Lenox Avenue.
Oh, wow!
We've been here almost for 20 years. So he's in our home office, which is the only room that has no air conditioning. So he's literally sweating it out in there.
Well, you look very fresh, Tony, for no air conditioning.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys are keeping it fresh, so I'm just back here delighting in it all. So
well, he also is the co-producer of another virtual show like this called a Piano Bar Live that Sal and Liz have appeared on.
They were awesome.
What do you mean we have? Yes, we did. Of course we did.
Yes, you did a duet for us, and
we did.
Was she sedated? Was that why she was so chill that night? I wonder.
Sal, is she off her meds or what is this? I can't.
Now her phone is.
They're phoning a friend.
Stop it.
For the next quiz question.
It's Adam Heller calling.
I'm doing a podcast. See, look.
That's Adam Heller.
Hey, Adam.
Hi. Everyone says hi, Adam. I'll go back.
But yeah, well, we upped like I think actually, Tony, right before we did that broadcast, we upped our setup at home with a curtain. I put up a curtain rod at one end of our room, and I got new sound equipment because it was such a good excuse to do all that stuff that I wanted for a long time.
But we need a mixer.
Yeah, we still.
Everyone is upping their game right now, right? We're talking about how it's like, well, what do we do in this time? Well, right now it's virtual. So everyone, whether it's bandwidth issues but I know that you had your assistant working there that night as well.
Yes,
I mean, that son is he's pulling double and triple duty. It's very impressive.
Hardest working man in our living room.
We're like, Andy, what's this doing? Andy, what are we doing? How do I get on Google?
Well, he did great, and you were delightful as usual. But it's been nice to give people an opportunity to bring out some of their old chestnuts, but also work on new material and really bring people together from anywhere from piano bar to cabaret to Broadway folks. And being able to stream it from everywhere from Facebook to Broadway on demand. So it's been really nice.
They won a MAC award for Show of the Year last year.
Yeah.
They couldn't accept their award in person because of what's going on. So, but it was nice to know that they still were recognized.
Well, thanks for bringing me here and showing off everyone's showing off their I like to call it my Frovid. It's been 6 months since I've. He's got the game. Nice. We can do a headbanger.
I have to take a closer look at that. Oh my God.
Yeah, show it off, baby. Show it off.
I'm gonna cry for help now. It's just cry for help. Our friend is coming up next week. He's going to cut my hair. So very excited.
I'm going to pop on back and let you guys keep delighting our viewers, but thanks for inviting me in, and thanks so much for joining us, everybody. It's been great. And keep it up, and
Thanks,
keep healthy, everyone.
You too.
Thanks, Tony. So, John, you're the only one that I didn't use as a guinea pig to ask what you're working towards when this is all over.
Well, it took me a month to work towards being able to focus on anything.
Yeah.
We were stopped, and our run just was like, and you're done, and there's no closure, so to speak, and it was tough. And plus I was having such a good time. I was playing opposite the spectacular Carolee Carmello, who, like Liz Larsen, is an incredibly just ray of sunlight on and off stage, and such a joy to be on stage with every night.
She's awesome.
One of those people like Liz, who is just gives so much, and you just can't wait to get back out there with her. And it was just such a good production. I'm actually really grateful to have started this, having come from an experience that was so positive. And, because who knew it had to last this long. But I've been trying to write some more. I've been trying to be able to focus more. The internet has done a crazy thing, even pre-COVID for me. I can no longer I used to read long books, great classics, and
me too.
I focus on short story now. And I think it's because of the short-term phone thing and the internet, just getting our short, quick blips and binging this show and then moving on to this show. And so I'm really trying to be able to focus a little bit more. So I do the Times crossword every day, which I love doing. Out every day, do the hard copy.
He times himself.
I time myself. I've got a whole stack of books over there that I'm getting through slowly. Too many big words. No, so I'm really just trying to get back to being able to focus on stuff more.
Well, that's great. That's great. I know that I lost 3 things being bang boom, within 2 days with it I had lined up. And of course, they were all things where I was counting those weeks towards health insurance and saying, oh, I got this and I'm all set. And one of the nicest things was that I got a lovely email from the director of one of those projects saying, we are going to do this when this is over. And you are the actor we must have for it. So whether that happens or not, it's nice to know that people are determined to get back to work and that there's somebody out there. We're so, as performers, we're so in need of another person to recognize what we do in order to hire us and to get us to collaborate with them. And sometimes we have to be reminded that it's good to instigate things by ourselves too. I know it's not the same feeling. There's a wonderful sense of accomplishment when you do something on your own and you bring it about. But then there's another whole feeling when somebody wants me, so we have to train ourselves to say the other thing is really good too. And it's not so alone. It's really building your career and building a future. And this show has been great for me to do that. And I so appreciate 4 of you for joining me, inviting us into your homes. I know it's not, you're visiting a home right now, Sal and Liz, but it's beautiful nonetheless. I thought it was a fake backdrop. It was, so perfectly, homespun, and
I know
fireplace in the background and everything. Both of you have a fireplace in the background.
I know, fireplace in the background.
I'll have to work on that.
No, I love your
I'd rather have.
Well, this is my Don Quixote background, believe it or not. That's followed me, like it or not.
I want to say something because I think Robert Levinson would want me to say this. He and Alan Wager. Do you know?
Sure, I do.
They're at Sharon Playhouse. They're managing and artistic directing Sharon Playhouse, and they've been trying to keep people working and keep people going to the theater this summer. So what they've been doing is they've been having these outdoor concerts and having people watch in their cars. So they only allow 53 cars, and all the performers are in masks when they're off stage, and it's all washed down. And crazily enough, they have a tech crew that lives up there that's been quarantined. So that crew does all these concerts. So anyway, they're not making any money. They are losing money, but they're keeping it alive. They're keeping it alive for
that community.
The community. So anyway, I'm doing one on September 5th, and it's a new musical written by a 13-year-old kid, and it's incredible. this kid is crazy. He was on Broadway in, oh no, I have to look it up. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, Alan and Robert are wonderful people, and they're very resourceful. I've known them for years. We did a Singing in the Rain in Florida together, and several other things. I think that, you know, they were just on their way up with rejuvenating Sharon Playhouse.
Yeah.
I remember doing a show there once where the biggest effect we had on the stage was a cat walked across the stage while we were doing a scene and stole the whole show. So
I'm really trying to keep it alive.
We should all look into this project, and because that's great. We'll give them a shout out, and maybe we can have them on the show in a couple of weeks to promote this. Because
and up here, you guys, we have the Forsberg Playhouse just down the road, run by Frank.
Yeah,
doing a great job. Also, we've had a lot of Broadway actors up to do concerts and stuff. Of course, you know, safely distanced and everything, but it's been a big success.
Really well orchestrated.
Yeah. Good.
That's great. And I do see that some of these theaters are coming back with one-person shows and reduced capacity, and one by one, Equity is going to probably sanction these productions. It's not enough to keep us all working, but it's a light at the end of the tunnel. And
yeah, it's a way back in, and we need that. We have to have that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find this young writer's name. Keep going. Oh. I just interrupted. I just stopped this whole conversation.
That's all right. That's all right. You know, I'm looking at the clock, but I could talk to each one of you for another 90 minutes, and we would, it would be fine. It would be fine. But I guess I'm going to try to keep to my schedule here, and I'm going to remind everyone that our guests next week are Carl Wallnow, who is the artistic director of Centenary Stage Company and a wonderful actor and director. Jamie Beth Margolis, who is a director and a casting director and a true Broadway baby and a wonderful spinner of tales. Lonnie Ackerman will be our other.
Yes.
We love Lonnie Ackerman.
Yeah, I know. I was on the phone with her the other day, and I said, you know, save some of these stories for next week because we talked for so long, and we're going to have a great time, as I have with you guys. I can't thank you enough. You're keeping the ghost light on, and I want to remind people that if you have some money to donate to the Actors Fund, because that's what's keeping us, the lifeline for all of us who are not so lucky as the five of us have been. And so thank you all again. I love you all.
Love you forever.
And hopefully we'll be together in person before long.
I hope so. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for keeping the light on and gathering us all, and on a weekly basis, giving us an opportunity to feel connected and to remind ourselves how important it is, live theater and gathering, and not only the history of it, but that there will be a future. Thanks for doing that.
Well said. And we will actually play out now with a song by Sal Viviano. And I can't think of a better way to play out than with this glorious voice singing Eyes That Never Lie from Weird Romance. So let this feast for your ears play us out. And thank you all again.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.